is to Mahamati the Bodhisattva-Mahasattva. This teaching of emptiness, no birth, non-duality, and no self-nature is found in all the sutras of all the Buddhas, and this doctrine is recognized in every one of them. However, Mahamati, the sutras are the teaching in conformity with the dispositions of all beings and deviate from the real sense, and not the truth-preserving statement. Mahamati, it is like unto the mirage which entices the deer with its treacherous springs. The springs are not there but the deer are attached, imagining them to be real. So with the teachings disclosed in all the sutras, they are for all beings for the gratification of their own discriminating minds. They are not the truth-preserving statements meant for noble wisdom to grasp. For this reason, Mahamati, be in conformity with the sense and be not engrossed in the word teaching. 28. At that time, Mahamati the Bodhisattva-Mahasattva said this to the Blessed One. Now the Blessed One makes mention of the Tathagatagarbha in the sutras. And verily it is described by you as by nature bright and pure. As primarily unspotted. Endowed with the 32 marks of excellence. Hidden in the body of every being like a gem of great value. Which is enwrapped in a dirty garment. Enveloped in the garment of the skandhas. Dadas and ayatanas, and soiled with the dirt of greed, anger, folly, and false imagination, while it is described by the Blessed One to be eternal, permanent, auspicious, and unchangeable. Is not this Tathagatagarbha taught by the Blessed One the same as the ego substance taught by the philosophers? The ego as taught in the systems of the philosophers is an eternal creator, unqualified, omnipresent, and imperishable. The Blessed One replied, No, Mahamati, my Tathagatagarbha is not the same as the ego taught by the philosophers. For what the Tathagatas teaches the Tathagatagarbha in the sense, Mahamati, that it is emptiness, reality limit, nirvana, being unborn, unqualified, and devoid of will effort. The reason why the Tathagatas who are arhats and fully enlightened ones teach the doctrine pointing to the Tathagatagarbha is to make the ignorant cast aside their fear when they listen to the teaching of egolessness and to have them realize the state of non-discrimination and imagelessness. I also wish, Mahamati, that the Bodhisattva-Mahasattvas of the present and future would not attach themselves to the idea of an ego imagining it to be a soul. Mahamati. It is like a potter who manufactures various vessels out of a mass of clay of one sort by his own manual skill and labor combined with a rod, water, and thread. Mahamati. That the Tathagatas preach the egolessness of things which removes all the traces of discrimination by various skillful means issuing from their transcendental wisdom. That is, sometimes by the doctrine of the Tathagatagarbha, sometimes by that of egolessness, and like a potter, by means of various terms, expressions, and synonyms. For this reason, Mahamati, the philosopher's doctrine of an ego substance is not the same as the teaching of the Tathagatagarbha. Thus, Mahamati. The doctrine of the Tathagatagarbha is disclosed in order to awaken the philosophers from their clinging to the idea of the ego. So that those minds that have fallen into the views imagining the non-existent ego as real, and also into the notion that the triple emancipation is final, may rapidly be awakened to the state of supreme enlightenment. Accordingly, Mahamati. The Tathagatas who are arhats and fully enlightened ones disclose the doctrine of the Tathagatagarbha, which is thus not to be known as identical with the philosopher's notion of an ego substance. Therefore, Mahamati, in order to abandon the misconception cherished by the philosophers, you must strive after the teaching of egolessness and the Tathagatagarbha. 29. At that moment then the Blessed One recited this verse. 139. The personal soul, continuity, the skandhas, causation, atoms, the Supreme Spirit, the ruler, the creator. They are discriminations in the mind only. 1. 30. At that time Mahamati the Bodhisattva-Mahasattva in consideration of future generations made this request again of the Blessed One. Pray tell me, Blessed One, about the perfecting of the discipline whereby the Bodhisattva-Mahasattvas become great yogins. The Blessed One replied. There are 4 things, Mahamati, by fulfilling which the Bodhisattvas become great yogins. What are the 4? They are: to have a clear understanding as to what is seen of mind itself, 2. To discard the notions of birth, abiding, and disappearance, to look into the truth that no external world obtains, and to seek for the attainment of inner realization by noble wisdom. Provided with these 4 things, the Bodhisattva-Mahasattvas become great yogins. Notes. 1. This verse has strangely found its way here. 2. This is rather a clumsy translation of Svasiddha Drishya. Drishya is what is seen, that is, this visible world, or this external, objective world, which according to the Lankavatara is a manifestation of mind itself. When this truth is realized, the objective world loses its reality as such, and we no more cling to it as if it were a final irreducible fact which stands oppressively against the mind. The Buddhist idea of interpreting existence idealistically is more religious than logical. For Buddhists want to elevate the value of spirit absolutely above matter so that the latter will be amenable to all the commands to be given by the former. 1. The proper place of this last sentence is here as restored. It is found in the Sanskrit text near the end of page 81. End quotes. How, Mahamati, does the Bodhisattva-Mahasattva come to have a clear understanding as to what is seen of mind itself? He comes to it by recognizing that this triple world is nothing but mind itself, devoid of an ego and its belongings, with no strivings, no comings and goings. That this triple world is manifested and imagined as real. Under the influence of the habit energy accumulated since beginningless time by false reasoning and imagination. And with the multiplicity of objects and actions in close relationship, and in conformity with the ideas of discrimination, such as body, property, and abode. Thus, Mahamati, the Bodhisattva-Mahasattva acquires a thoroughly clear understanding as to what is seen of mind itself. How again, Mahamati, does the Bodhisattva-Mahasattva discard notions of birth, abiding, and disappearance? By this it is meant that all things are to be regarded as forms born of a vision or a dream and have never been created, since there are no such things as self, the other, or bothness. The Bodhisattvas will see that the external world exists only in conformity with mind only. And seeing that there is no stirring of the vijnanas and that the triple world is a complicated network of causation and owes its rise to discrimination, they find that all things, inner and external, are beyond predicability, that there is nothing to be seen as self-nature, and that the world is not to be viewed as born. And thereby they will conform themselves to the insight that things are of the nature of a vision, etc. and attain to the recognition that things are unborn. Establishing themselves on the 8th stage of bodhisattvahood, they will experience a revulsion in their consciousness by transcending the citta, manas and manovijnana, and the 5 dharmas, and the 3 svabhavas, and the twofold egolessness, and thereby attain the mind-made body. Thus, Mahamati, the Bodhisattva-Mahasattva will discard the notion of birth, abiding, and disappearance. 1. Said Mahamati 1. What is meant by the will body, blessed one? The blessed one replied, it means that one in this body can speedily move unobstructed as he wills. Hence the will body, Mahamati. For instance, Mahamati, the will or mind travels unobstructed over mountains, walls, rivers, trees, etc. Many 100,000 yojanas they may be away. When a man recollects the scenes which had previously come into his perception, while his own mind keeps on functioning in his body without the least interruption or hindrance. In the same fashion, Mahamati, the will body, in the attainment of the samadhi called Maya-like and adorned with such marks as the powers, the psychic faculties, and the self-control, will be born in the noble paths and assemblies, moving about as freely as he wishes, as he recalls his original vows and worlds in order to bring all beings to maturity. Note 1. This whole paragraph is a digression, a sort of explanatory note. The will body is again referred to later on, p. 115 et sec. End note. Then, Mahamati, what is meant by the Bodhisattva-Mahasattva having a good insight into the non-existence of external objects? It means, Mahamati, that all things are like unto a mirage, a dream, a hairnet. And seeing that all things are here essentially because of our attachment to the habit energy of discrimination which has been maturing since beginningless time on account of false imagination and erroneous speculation, the Bodhisattvas will seek after the attainment of self-realization by their noble wisdom. Mahamati, furnished with these four things, Bodhisattva-Mahasattvas become great yogins. Therefore, in these, Mahamati, you should exercise yourself. 31. At that time Mahamati again made a request of the Blessed One. Pray tell me, Blessed One, about the causation of all things, whereby I and other Bodhisattva-Mahasattvas can see into the nature of causation. And by getting rid of the discrimination which issues in the philosophical views of eternalism and nihilism, we may no more discriminate as to the gradual or simultaneous rising of all things. Replied the Blessed One. Mahamati, there are two factors of causation by which all things come into existence. External and inner. Mahamati, the external factors are a lump of clay, a stick, a wheel, thread, water, a worker, and his labor, the combination of all of which produces a jar. As with the jar, Mahamati, which is made of a lump of clay, or a piece of cloth made of thread, or a matting made of fragrant grass, or the sprout growing out of a seed, or fresh butter which is produced from sour milk by a man churning it with his own labor. So it is, Mahamati, with all things which, governed by external causes, appear one after another in continuous succession. As regards the inner factors of causation, Mahamati, they are of such kind as ignorance, desire, and action, which make up our idea of causation. Born of these, Mahamati, there is the manifestation of the skandhas, dhatu's, and ayatanas. They are not separable realities one but discriminated as such by the ignorant. Now, Mahamati, there are 6 causes. Possibility cause, dependence cause, objectivity cause, agency cause, manifesting cause, and indifference cause. Point 2. The possibility cause means, Mahamati, that when a cause to be becomes effective there is the rising of things inner and outer. The dependence cause means, Mahamati, that when conditions to be, become effective there is the rising of the skandha seeds, etc. Inner and outer. Further, the objectivity cause means, Mahamati, that bound by the objective world the vijnana keeps up its continuous activity. Again, Mahamati, the agency cause means that like a sovereign king a cause invested with supreme authority asserts itself. Again, the manifesting cause means that when the discriminating faculty rises, as the result it reveals individual marks as a lamp does forms, etc. Lastly, the indifference cause means that when there is a dissolution the power of combination discontinues, and there rises a state of non-discrimination. Notes. One way reads this without the negative particle, while Tiang omits the whole sentence together with the foregoing, pratityasamutpadasamjainanam pratilabhanti. This latter is also omitted in this translation as the translator regards its insertion here as a clerical error, which perhaps was also the idea of the Tiang. 2. The Chinese 11, or simply 1 points to apeksha rather than to apeksha. In this ease, mutual reference is better. End note. These, Mahamati, are the outcome of discrimination carried on by the ignorant and simple-minded, and there is no gradual nor simultaneous rising of existence. Why? Because, Mahamati, if there is a simultaneous rising of existence, there would be no distinction between cause and effect, and there would be nothing to characterize a cause as such. If a gradual rising is admitted, there is no substance that holds together individual signs, which makes gradual rising impossible. While a child is not yet born, Mahamati, the term father has no significance. Point 1. The logician argues that there is that which is born and that which gives birth by the mutual functioning of such causal factors as cause, subsistence, continuity, acceleration, and others. And they conclude that there is a gradual rising of existence. But, Mahamati, this gradual rising does not obtain except by reason of their attachment to the notion of self-nature. When the ideas of body, property, and abode are cherished in what is nothing but the manifestation of mind itself, the external world is perceived under the aspects of individuality and generality, which, however, are not realities. And therefore, Mahamati, neither a gradual nor a simultaneous rising of things is possible. It is only when the vijnana evolves by reason of discrimination which discriminates the manifestation of mind itself that existence is said to come into view. For this reason, Mahamati, you must strive to get rid of notions of gradation and simultaneity in the combination of the causal activities. Thus it is said. 140. Nothing whatever is born or ceases to exist by reason of causation. When causation is discriminated, there is birth and cessation. 141. It is not to keep off the idea of birth and disappearance which takes place in causation. It is to keep off the wrong imagination as to causation, which is cherished by the ignorant. 142. The being and non-being of things subject to causation has no reality. The triple world owes its existence to the mind put into confusion by reason of habit energy. 143. Not ever being in existence, what things are there that are born? But in causation nothing is lost. When effect-producing objects are regarded as like unto a barren woman's child or a flower in the sky, one perceives that grasping and grasped are an error and desists from committing the same error. 144. There is nothing that is to be born, nor is there anything that has been born. Even causation is not. It is because of worldly usage that things are talked of as existing. 32. At that moment again Mahamati the Bodhisattva-Mahasattva said this to the Blessed One. Pray tell me, Blessed One, about the teaching known as the essence of discrimination as regards words. Whereby, Blessed One, I and other Bodhisattva-Mahasattvas, comprehending and becoming well acquainted with the essence of discrimination as regards words, will be thoroughly informed of the signification of two things, expression and expressed, and, thereby immediately attaining supreme enlightenment, will explain the signification of these two things, expression and expressed, for the purification of all beings. Replied the Blessed One. Then, Mahamati, listen well and reflect well, for I will tell you about it. Well done, said Mahamati the Bodhisattva-Mahasattva and listened to the Blessed One. The Blessed One said this to him. There are, Mahamati, 4 kinds of word discrimination. They are words denoting individual marks, dream words, words growing out of the attachment to erroneous speculations and discriminations, and words growing out of the discrimination that knows no beginning. Now, Mahamati, the words denoting individual marks rise from discriminating forms and characteristic signs as real in themselves and becoming attached to them. The dream words, Mahamati, rise from the unreal surroundings which reveal themselves before the mind when it recollects its previous experience. The words growing out of the attachment to erroneous speculations and discriminations, Mahamati, rise from recollecting deeds once previously committed. The words growing out of the discrimination that has been functioning since beginningless time, Mahamati, rise from the habit energy whose seeds have been growing out of the clinging to erroneous speculations and false imaginations since beginningless time. I say, Mahamati, these are the 4 features of word discrimination, which is the answer to your question. 33. At that time again, Mahamati the Bodhisattva-Mahasattva requested of the Blessed One to speak on this subject. Pray tell me again, Blessed One, about the conditions whereby the word discrimination manifests itself. Where, whence, how, and by whom do words indicating discrimination take place among the people? Said the Blessed One. Mahamati, the word discrimination goes on taking place by the coordination of the head, chest, nose, throat, palate, lips, tongue, and teeth. Said Mahamati. Again, Blessed One, are words to be considered different or not different from discrimination? Replied the Blessed One. Mahamati, they are neither different nor not different. Why? Because words rise, Mahamati, with discrimination as their cause. If, Mahamati, words are different from discrimination, they cannot have it for cause. Then if they are not different, words cannot express the sense, which they do. Therefore, words and discrimination are neither different nor not different. Then Mahamati said, again, Blessed One, are words themselves the highest reality? Or is what is expressed in words the highest reality? The Blessed One replied, Mahamati, words are not the highest reality, nor is what is expressed in words the highest reality. Why? Because the highest reality is an exalted state of bliss, and as it cannot be entered into by mere statements regarding it, words are not the highest reality. Mahamati, the highest reality is to be attained by the inner realization of noble wisdom. It is not a state of word discrimination. Therefore, discrimination does not express the highest reality. And then, Mahamati, words are subject to birth and destruction. They are unsteady, mutually conditioning, and are produced by the law of causation. And again, Mahamati, what is mutually conditioning and produced by the law of causation cannot express the highest reality. Because the indications pointing to the distinction between self and not self are non-existent. Mahamati, words are these indications and do not express the highest reality. Further, Mahamati, word discrimination cannot express the highest reality. For external objects with their multitudinous individual marks are non-existent, and only appear before us as something revealed out of mind itself. Therefore, Mahamati, you must try to keep yourself away from the various forms of word discrimination. 34. Thus it is said. 145. In all things there is no self-nature, words too are devoid of reality. As the ignorant understand not what is meant by emptiness, yes, by emptiness, they wander about. 146. In all things there is no self-nature, they are mere words of people. That which is discriminated has no reality. Even nirvana is like a dream. Nothing is seen to be in transmigration, nor does anything ever enter into nirvana. 147. As a king or a wealthy householder, giving his children various clay-made animals, pleases them and makes them play with the toys, but later gives them real ones. 148. So, I, making use of various forms and images of things, instruct my sons, but the limit of reality can only be realized within oneself. 35.